What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mashanddrum Whiskey Room. It's Jason C. What is up? Hanging out tonight. My second night this week going live after our fun that we had with on Monday night with our buddy David Jennings over at Rare Bird 101. Got a really cool show tonight. Two of my favorite people in Whiskey Tube are going to be coming on shortly. But I just wanted to say hi to a couple of you in the chat before we get into the show here. Yeah, that's what you see, guys. You see a Canadian whiskey right here, Crown Royal 16 year. I picked it up today because our two guests are from Canada. If you don't know that already, Rob and Jeremy. So what we're going to be doing is, let's see here. We're going to be talking to a couple of people in the chat here. I want to say hi to James SoCal, Trev Wilson, the Wrench is here, Christopher David, Mark Bond, Barrel Lover, Tom R. Sugar Kitty's here. What's up? Steve A. Christopher David's here, of course. Destination Bourbon. What's up, Primetime? Michael Klein. Jason Busey, the legend. Let's see. Ryan Tarpey's in the house. What's up, man? Wildlife and Whiskey jumped in. How are you doing, brother? Kilco is here. How you doing, Kilco? Julie L is here. How are you? Let's see. Jeffrey Wack, of course, my buddy's here. Jeffrey Wack, I have some Joseph Magnus cigar blend on the way to you, so keep an eye out for that. Richie Z, of course, is in the house. And a bunch of other guys coming in. Donald Rance, the Irish Whiskey Yoda. Nice. Kelsey Dime, Cheech Ardolino, Greer Crabtree, Tim Gorgeous. What's up, Tim? We have Mr. Whiskey Shits in the house. Scary Peeper, getting to be his time of year, Halloween. Tim Evans, what's up, buddy? Joseph Brazzers, a bunch of people coming in tonight. Awesome. So without further ado, I want to bring in our guests, get the show started. Everybody welcome in Rob and Jeremy from Canada.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having us, man.
What's up, man? Nice to see you guys finally. How's the COVID treating you?
It is what it is. It's not like crazy bad here, but yeah. I mean, we've gone back into we've reversed back into not a lockdown, but restrictions have come back. So.
Yeah, you can't have more than 10 people in a household, but as a teacher, I'm allowed to have 30 students in my classroom. It's pretty cool.
That makes sense.
What's up, Christian P? James Burkhardt, hello from Columbus. What's up, neighbor? How you doing, buddy? Daryl Caldwell's here. Jojo Z. Will Henderson saying, "Oh, Canada." Before we get started, guys, I just want to call out a couple of new Patreons that just joined in the last week or so, including Justin Jonas, George Steckert, Matt Jones. I want to say hi to Mike Walling, Tiller Tomazin, Lance Lyell from Whiskey Tornado, who upgraded his membership. Thanks, Cameron. And we got Travis Wallard is back. Congrats to Travis if you're watching. He just got a new job this week, so congrats to Travis there. So appreciate you guys, your support. Also, real quick before we get started, I'm not sure if I've talked about this a lot or talked about him a lot, but I had an uncle a while back who had Down syndrome. He was my uncle Joey. Grew up with him. Obviously, he wasn't really like an uncle to me. He was more like a big brother. And I grew up with him in my grandmother's house. And, as I got older, he kind of was, I wanted to take care of him and stuff. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was in high school, which really sucked. But today would have been his 60th birthday. So I just wanted to raise a glass to my Uncle Joey because I miss him so much. So cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. God bless.
All right. So let's dive in, guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about some cool whiskey topics. I watched the last couple of your podcasts. I think you guys are doing an awesome job. I love it.
Thanks, buddy.
Really cool topics. One of the ones that struck me was the last one that we talked about, which is the new bottles and the secondary market and the craziness that it is right now. Mm-hmm. I was part of an article not too long ago in Paste Magazine talking about that exact thing. I just feel like, there's I mean, what do you guys think? I think that shit's gotten out of fucking hand, right?
It's crazy. It's absolutely absurd when literally you can buy a bottle, turn around, like walk outside and sell that exact bottle that you bought for $100 for $500. Like it doesn't even make sense.
Jason Busey with a $25 super chat. Happy birthday, Uncle Joey. I really appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey, we got Robert Licorice from Iron Roots in the house. What's up, Robert? Thanks for coming in. I think somebody in the chat was killing. I think it was actually Jason Busey. I think Jason Busey is killing a bottle of Iron Root tonight.
We gotta get
Very
a
nice.
bottle of Iron Root, man.
Yeah, we do need that.
That's
You guys don't have that there?
No, they don't sell it up here.
All right,
That's Texas whiskey, yeah.
yeah, when I try to get you that bottle of Foregate, or not try to get you that bottle of Foregate,
Right. Wayne. Yeah, same. I got to get you that Weiser's 23 down there.
Yeah. So, well, you guys both each have individual channels, and I'm sure most people in the chat, if they don't know yet, Rob, you have Whiskey in the Six. Jeremy, you have Sipper Social Club. Yep. So you guys have separate channels. You're obviously friends, and you guys appear on each other's lives every now and again. But what made you want to come up with the podcast?
So we hang out like pretty often for live events and stuff like that anyway. And we both kind of have the ranter in us. Like we go off. I would like on a regular Wednesday, I would just call Jeremy and start going off about something like in the secondary market that really pissed me off that day. And just talk his ear off for a half hour. So basically
it's like we need to record that.
Yeah, exactly. It was record worthy, we thought. So hopefully everybody else thinks that as well.
Yeah, I think like our podcast is kind of like an extension of our live show with maybe like more like graphic elements that we can like refer to something. You know, we can throw a clip in, we can throw an image in when we edit it that way. So I think that concept is really kind of cool. It's kind of like almost like a Joe Rogan Experience podcast where they've got someone throwing up stuff on the screen. I think it kind of adds to it.
Absolutely.
If you're watching it.
Yeah. Totally. I think it gives it a different dynamic. I like how you guys are kind of facing each other and having a conversation.
Yeah, it feels definitely more natural just to kind of like chat with your buddy about something. Like we would go live, and my style, well, Jeremy's a lot more meticulous than I am when it comes to that, but I would go live, and then Jeremy would go over. He's like, "So what are we talking about today?" I was like, "I don't know, whatever. We'll just wing it." So the podcast really brought that in, honed in the creativity, and we can actually like talk about actual topics instead of just showing up to my channel.
Yeah, and I think that like every whiskey drinker shares a certain amount of rantish things. I mean, I think that our topics, everyone can relate to them, and everyone's got a story about either a secondary market that they're pissed off about, allocation of certain whiskeys, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's relatable.
We all have that bottle that we missed out on because someone caught wind of it. Everybody raided the stores before you found out, and you slept on that bottle, and then you're like, because now to buy that exact bottle 3 days later is going to cost you 5 times as much. So, I think that's kind of the inspiration in a nutshell.
Hold on, where was it? I just saw. Oh, here we go. My rant would be how Rob grows a full beard in 6 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Rob does have a legendary beard.
Thanks, Moose.
And we got Go Habs in the house. What's up, buddy? Rob and Jeremy are very close. I don't know what that means.
Right now, you can tell that's coming from pure hate right there.
So I think one of the cool subjects you guys talked about on your last podcast was not only bottles that are going crazy on secondary, but bottles we wish like we kind of bought up at the time when we could have.
Yeah.
You guys brought up Macallan 1, from batch 1 from their popular series. Right now they just released 6, which you guys seem to be kind of lukewarm on. I don't know if it's gotten better over some time, but at the time you said you guys got batch 1 for what? About $99,
American, yes.
Out the door. And now what are they going for on secondary?
$1,200, $1,300 or so.
My buddy just sold one for $1,500 Canadian.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got Philip Washington. What's up, man? So shout out to Rob with Whiskey in the Six, first YouTube channel I started following and introduced me to one of my favorite scotches, Glendronach 18.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks, Philip.
There you go.
Cheers,
so
man.
really want to point out real quick. So Rob is this close, guys, this close to 10,000 subs. When he breaks 10,000, what he's going to be doing is breaking open a very, very special bottle of Glendronach. So if you guys aren't subscribed, Rob doesn't just do, scotches and single malts and world whiskeys. He actually does, a good amount of American whiskeys too. So give him a sub. And, Jeremy, if you haven't seen Sipper Social Club, his Johnny Walker video went viral. It was legendary. And he's just been putting out, killer content ever since. So congrats to both of you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
So, all right. So Macallan went for that much. What other price increases are you seeing? Now, you guys, so you're in Canada, you have an LCBO. So is that similar to the 3-tier system we have in the US, or how does it work? Is it completely different?
I think it's completely different.
It's more similar to like your ABC liquor stores, I think. And like they're all government controlled, right? So the LCBO, there's how many retail stores, thousands of or hundreds of retail stores around the province. So yeah, they set the price, they dictate inventory, whatever. If you wanted to get something outside of their inventory, there's huge steps to go through. Most likely you have to order a case, and most likely they're coming in and putting on their duty and taxes on it, and it's going to cost, double what you'd find it for anywhere else.
Yeah, that's what Steve is saying. It's in the ABC setup, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just heavily taxed. You're looking at almost 40. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's absurd the amount of tax that we pay on our whiskey. So that's the government. They don't want. They use it as an excuse to basically keep people safe by taxing liquor, but mainly it's a huge moneymaker for them. So
Ryan Tarpey just subbed to both you guys.
Hey, thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, buddy.
Almar said he found a bottle of Edition 1 because of Rob's review. He made me aware of it, and the bottle was just sitting there all dusty.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I hope he drank it, because that's the one thing too. So I did kind of a rant video. I don't know if you guys saw my overpriced, overhyped bourbon video.
Yeah, buddy.
Where I got a little bit crazy on that video, but a lot of it had to do with the secondary and what people are paying obscene amounts of prices for. So after I watched your video, and we talked about this on the channel before, I kind of looked around to see what certain, popular bottles were going for. So I found Old Forester Birthday Bourbon, which isn't that great this year. It was an okay version. It was unique, but it wasn't anything that I had to go and get. I was lucky enough to get a sample from Old Forester, and I was able to review it. Nice. I thought last year's was much better. I've seen that bottle's going on average of about $650 to $700.
Wow.
King of Kentucky, which is another Brown-Forman product. Those are pretty hard to get. They already retail at about, $300, $400. Those are going for about $1,200 to $1,300. I've seen it as high as $1,500 in some places. I haven't seen any BTAC on secondary yet. I'm waiting for the first one of Stag to go up there because it's a higher proof this year. We're looking at 130 something proof, I think, for Stag this year. So everyone's now, because of the proof point, now we're going to, make the price even higher than it was. It was generally going for about $400, $500. I think we're going to see prices in the $700s this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on our podcast, the new Weller single barrel. Yeah. And when that thing first hit the secondary, it was up at almost $700. Since came down about $550. I think I've seen them for now-ish, $500 to $550. But just crazy. Like, especially we're talking about if you're the first person to get one up in the secondary market without anyone being able to get it yet, you can get that kind of premium first to market price hike,
What I always find interesting is how if it's priced reasonable at retail, that's the formula. Like there's a certain formula that makes these whiskeys go crazy on secondary. It has to be priced reasonable at retail. If it's priced too high at retail, even if it's the best bourbon you'll ever try, there's really no secondary market for it. Like I remember walking by Wild Turkey 17 and wondering why nobody's buying this bottle for the longest time. The last few batches, I don't know how many batches there's been so far, but it was an older batch of the Wild Turkey 17, and it would just sit on shelves.
That was the original 17. That was the first one they brought out before they brought out the bottle and bond one.
Yeah, and it would sit on shelves, and people would walk right past it because I guess it was a little too high on retail. So it seems like people would rather the average Joe make exponential dollars on the secondary market as opposed to paying the actual distilleries that make these products.
Yeah, I say the same thing, Scary Peeper. If you think I'd pay $5 for Willis Single, you can go fuggy your mother. Exactly. Hey, Claire the Third is here. What's up, man? He says ICGTS 2020 still getting 700. So yeah, that's what I figured it'd be going at. Once it said it was going to be a higher proof. I just find it pretty amazing how people in their heads price something based on the value they think it is. Like, for example, Colonel Taylor's single barrel. They did a first round of store picks here in the United States, and I think they were out of Chicago, I believe. It might have been a Binny's pick or a couple small stores in Chicago, but somebody put that on secondary for an obscene amount of money. I think they were asking about $600 for it. And it's essentially, if you just go and actually find a single barrel of Colonel Taylor for retail, that's like an $80, $70 bottle.
Right.
So this guy's asking, $600, $700 for it. Other guys were trying to trade it for bottles of Pappy. It was crazy.
Man,
I'm like,
the barrel proof commands a bit more on secondary, but the single barrel, I was not, did not know that they were getting that much for that bottle.
At first, now it's come down, but at first, like the first guy that put it up, he's just like, you know what? Let me see if I could trade this for an old rip. So that's what he did.
Right.
I don't know if he got a trade for it.
That's crazy.
Patrick Foreman House. I've subscribed to all three of these guys since I discovered Whiskey Tube. Thanks for all the info and content.
Cheers, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. You're the man. Absolutely. All right, ADHD. Whiskey's in the house. The world's greatest whiskey taster. What's up, buddy? Yeah. So when it comes to, I want to ask you guys this. When it comes to some of the releases that are coming out now, do you think we've seen the end of like $100 to $150 special releases? I feel like those are gone now, and we're just going right into $200 to $250 now. There seems to be no, like, they're just like, we're out of the $100 range. I mean, you get a couple in there, but I'm talking about special releases seem to be 200 or more now. There's no, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. The whole BTAC line is still, I guess, quite a bit under that. Yeah.
I mean, retail it is.
Retail, yeah. Well, retail, yeah. I mean, on secondary, they're all triple that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I am surprised because I think what distillers are doing, they're just like, they're taking advantage of the secondary market, right? It's like, why is my bottle selling for, 5 times the retail price and I'm not getting any cut of that?
Yeah.
So now the distillers are bumping up their price. I'm surprised that Buffalo Trace has kept that BTAC line at $99 retail or whatever it is.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a joke. It's the same way they keep Pappy at 100 and 200. I mean, everybody knows you're never going to see it for that much. And I don't know if you guys saw the press release for Pappy. We read it actually. I think it was last week. We read it live, and it said something about if you see somebody in the store that's overcharging for it, call the Better Business Bureau, call your mayor or some crazy shit. Let them know. We're like, are people going to do that?
That's every store I see.
Yeah,
that's every store.
Yeah,
it's every store. You can't really walk around without seeing it. I don't know. Some of the other trends in the secondary market, it's really mostly the Buffalo Trace stuff. Elmer T. Lee now, which I actually bought a bottle on secondary maybe a little over a year and a half ago, and I paid $120 for it, and now they're going for over $200.
Wow. Same
thing with Rock Hill Farms. As you mentioned, the Colonel Taylor barrel proofs are commanding more money now. Everything has. Even the birthday bourbon, I mentioned that this year's is going for about $600, $700. The 2019, I remember, was up there for about $350 to $400. So prices are like doubling now. And I'm not sure what's driving it. Is it just because all these morons just keep buying this shit like this?
It's hard to fathom it. Like,
I
even
feel
like
Facebook has a big contribution to all this. Facebook has been a big reason why all these, because what's really fueling it. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to. The lottos, like a lot of these Facebook lottos, because people don't mind spending $30 a spot, and then when you calculate it all up, it worked out to like $800 for a GTS. You know what I mean? So the amount of money that these guys are paying, not realizing that they've driven the prices up of all these bottles on secondary because they're paying that for lotteries.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's distributing the pain of paying for that bottle, but in the long run, they've increased the value of those bottles like unwantingly.
I mean, the price increases are just crazy. Even look at Booker's Rye and that one that was.
Yeah, that was, I think, the most I ever saw it. Well, I mean, in the beginning, when I was first getting into secondary, you would see that for around 800 to 1,000. Now,
when I got my bottle, it was valued around 700.
Yeah.
And now I see them for 1,900 or so going for it now.
So
that's like what, 2 years? In 2 years, they've doubled.
2 years, yeah. I mean, 2 years, these prices are doubling. I mean, I'm usually living in the bourbon secondary, trying to get bottles if I'm not getting them from my stores. But is it the same happening in the in the Scotch world?
Not to a lesser extent, but yes, it's always existed in the Scotch world. Like what we just talked about, that Macallan Edition 1, right?
Yeah. That
thing keeps going up exponentially. If you can find, it's the formula, right? People want cask strength, natural color, unchill filtered, and limited. So it's, if you can hit those targets, and preferably an age statement, you hit those targets, it's like the moment the bulk of that sells out, it's doubled in price probably.
Yeah, you can look at big brands like Ardbeg every single year with the committee release stuff. Those usually always gain a lot on the secondary market, depending on the release too. Like
this year's committee release right off the hop was going for what, 500 American?
Going for a lot. I mean,
oh crap! The
black.
The black. Wow, that's crazy, dude. Here's a good question: what are Scotch prices like in Canada versus the States, such as Springbank, Ardbeg?
Depends where you shop in Canada. Certain provinces are different than others. Here in Ontario, we pay a lot. Out west in Alberta, very reasonable out there. Even like cheaper than the United States prices for sure.
Yeah, I would say Alberta is probably one of the best. Well, it used to be. It's starting to change now because it's more privatized than. It's the only province that has privatized liquor stores. So store owners are catching on and starting to increase the price of those like one-off bottles. Like I actually recently spoke to a store owner, and he was pricing his bourbons at secondary prices. And, he's like, I know that people are going to say I'm a gouger and they're going to criticize me, but it burns his ass to sell a bottle of Blanton's Gold for $100, and then literally a guy comes in, clears off the shelf, and then sells each one for $400 or $500.
Yeah, that's one thing that Ontario is actually like good for is some bourbon sometimes. I mean, like Blanton's Original, it's on the shelf here for 65. Did it go up? It was 65 Canadian dollars, so like $50 US. The gold we get here at $100 Canadian, so that's like $75, $80 US for the Blanton's Gold. So some stuff we get that's reasonably priced. The prices have gone up, but we used to get Weller 107. It was 35 Canadian dollars. It's like $25, $30 US.
Now they switched it to a cork and they decided to charge us $70.
Yeah, like I remember going into the shelf and being able to buy Weller 12 for $45 Canadian anytime I wanted to, and then that quickly disappeared.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't even believe you guys are seeing Blanton's Gold. Blanton's Gold was released here as well as straight from the barrel. Never saw a bottle, saw them on secondary. People were saying, this is the American release. Like it was like a special bottle, which fucking cracked me up. And they were charging like $400, $500 for it, which is just sick.
That's insane. Especially when you can get it overseas for half that. No, way less than half.
Christopher Davis says, Jason, Rob, and Jeremy, if you could find it at MSRP, what single bottle are looking for the most this whiskey release season? So let's get into that. Let's get into bourbon hunting season or whiskey hunting season.
We don't want to divulge what we're looking for because it's
we're scared to tell you guys.
Springbank's our favorite distillery.
I heard you guys talking about the Springbank 21.
That's what honestly the Springbank 21 is the one that I'm looking for sure.
So that's not out yet.
Not yet. No, not in North America.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
it's sent up. Well, I think a lot of people that sourced it in the States got it from the UK. Yeah.
So it should be rolling out very, very soon.
Yeah. So
for both of you, that's your bottle. That's your hitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I pulled the trigger on. I stumbled upon Ardbeg 19-year-old yesterday, and it was in Nova Scotia for probably the most ludicrous Canadian price I've ever seen of it. Like last year, it was going for minimum $350. This year, for whatever reason, the batch 2 showed up in Nova Scotia for $270 tax in. So I jumped all over that, but that's the Ardbeg 19.
Yeah, that's that actually. There's still a few of those laying around here in Ohio where I live. For they're still charging $300 for it.
Right.
Mr. Whiskey Shits, I'm good with $60 bottles with the occasional splurge. Yeah, look, it's whatever is good for your budget. You want a Whiskey Tornado says never bought a thing on secondary. Give me all the Remus Special Reserve, Knob Creek, Rare Breed, Russell's Reserve, and I'll be happy. Yeah, there's too many damn good bottles on the shelf nowadays, and that's what I always try to convey. A lot in my videos when I kind of do my rant videos. There's a lot of underrated bourbons, and people kind of, and this kind of before I get into that, so the whiskey I'm chasing right now, it probably would still be William LaRue Weller. I never get disappointed from those in the BTAC lineup. I've been lucky enough to get each one the last 3 years, and it's always just an amazing bourbon and always worth the price if you could get it at retail. Now, I would love to get the Eagle Rare from the BTAC this year. It's the Eagle Rare 17, but it's actually 18 years old this year. Oh. We'll love to get that, but that's one of those bottles I never see. And those usually end up on secondary immediately for, over $1,000.
Yeah.
Since they bumped that proof point up with those, they've been commanding a lot of money.
Yeah, completely.
Investment definitely.
Yeah, I mean the Pappies I'll never see, because the only way I'm buying a Pappy is if I get it at retail. I'm not overpaying for that because I think it's a solid bourbon. I don't think it's anywhere near the secondary prices for it. I understand the rarity and the story and the want and the popularity of it, but I'm not, maybe like 6-7 years ago I would have fell for that shit, but not anymore.
Well, I've only had the pleasure of tasting all of the Pappies because of this gentleman right here. And I don't know, man. William LaRue Weller I take every day. I did the Fred Minnick #1 bourbon of all time. It's coming out this Monday, my review of it. Peter White, friend of all of our shows actually, lent me the bottle.
The Four Roses 25th?
That's right. The 125. Yeah.
I was able to get a pour of that from another channel, Dusty Dan. He had Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. He had a bottle of it, and he actually put it in a blind tasting, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, great bourbon.
Yeah.
But still, I think I say it like a little spoiler alert. That video is coming out Monday, but I said at the end of it, I still think I like William LaRue Weller. The 2017 that I've tried, the best. Like that's still my favorite.
Weller seems like it's the most consistent release from BTAC. I mean, I think that's the consensus. I've only had a couple years of it, but
yeah,
it's been solid. I'm a good batch of Stag is still my favorite though.
Which Stag year was it that I was not a big fan of? Was that 2018?
2017?
Was it 2017?
Nice, Jeffrey. Yeah, the Old Forester 150s. I wouldn't really chase batch 3 unless you really want to collect the whole collection. Batch 1 and 2 are easily the best from the 150s. Yeah, I mean, totally the price hikes on. So the Stag. I mean, Stags could be solid. I felt like the last really good George T. Stag was 17. I'm sorry, 18. I was disappointed in oh no, wait a second. No, it was 17. 18 was pretty damn good. 19 last year was very disappointing, only at 116 proof. It's back up to 130 proof this year. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Last year you were picking the junior batch 12 over it in blinds, right?
Yeah, every time it would. Although I would say you add a couple drops of water to the to that George T. Stagg from 2019, it actually opened it up really nicely.
A couple drops of what? Sorry,
Water.
Claire the III says GTS is the best whiskey in the world.
There you go.
Of course he did.
We agree.
Of course he did.
That's because he has like 500 of them, doesn't he?
At least.
Yeah, I mean Stagg Junior. I think you have a few unicorn batches that come out, like batch 9, batch 12. Even batch 13. I thought was really good. This year's batch 14, I found it to be just a solid batch. There's nothing really outstanding about it.
I've heard people say it's their favorite. Like it blows away 12. I've heard
batch
that.
14.
Yeah.
Yeah, batch 14 for me lacked that punch of sweetness. It just didn't really, I don't know. At least for my palate, it really didn't do much for me. I picked 13 and 12 over it. Yeah. I decided to bypass BTAC, chase the less-known unicorns, William Heaven Hill, Parker's Heritage, Midwinters, Night Stram, Octomore. Yeah, I'm excited for the new Octomores. I'm still waiting to get some samples from Brooklotti. So
we were pretty upset about the new price hike of the Octomores, to be honest.
I mean, they've been 200 and over for a while. So
it seems like the 2020 is up about $75 at least each expression, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Rob and Jeremy picked up 2019 Springbank 21 after watching a review coming from bourbon and not a Scotch fan. Would the Springbank 21 be good coming from bourbon? Nervous to crack a $400 bottle.
It's definitely not going to have that punch in the face that a barrel-proof bourbon has, right? Like it's 46%. It's super smooth, super all kinds of fruity characters going on. But
yeah, I think the Springbank, there is some similarities that it's really sweet. Like that Springbank 21 has some port barrels in it that brings up that sweetness.
Yeah.
So I think the sweetness level when you're coming from bourbon will be consistent. I just think that Springbank is such a unique character distillery, and you get a little bit of weird kind of funkiness to it. I mean, I don't see you not liking that bottle. It's just, I think anyone would appreciate that Springbank 21. So open it up, drink it up.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. We really like it.
Yeah. So the Midwinters Night Strams their own juice now, or still sourced? I think some of it is still sourced, and some of it is the High West owned stuff. It's never going to be as old until we get further down the line. It's not going to be those old MGP, and I think they were using some 13-year Barton mixed in there too. Those are the special ones. I think batch 1 through batch 4. I think, and then or batch 5, and I think 6 is when they started using their own stuff. Ben Stahl, can Rob and Jeremy talk about if it's legal to ship to the U.S. from Alberta? I have a guy who lives in Alberta and wants to ship, but says Canada customs is horrible.
So I don't think it is. I don't think it's legal for.
It depends. So what way he's talking about from Canada into the U.S.? Yeah, so I've had success doing that before. Going the other way around is a lot more tricky, going from the U.S. into Canada. Canada's laws are a lot more strict. But yeah, I think that going from Canada into the U.S. is normally fine. Do not
put it up as anything food related. If you're going to do it, I always do beard oil, and it's definitely believable because...
Yep.
When you
everybody always talks about my beard.
When you fill out the customs declaration form for what you're sending,
I always say olive oil or snow globes.
Snow globes probably. I think snow globes out of the two would be a better choice because olive oil.
I would stay away from olive oil. Any type of food products sometimes get flagged, so I would stay away from that. Yeah.
Hey, Whiskey Central's in the house. What's up, Shayla? Newer channel. Yes, I'm wearing her shirt with Ron Swanson on the front. It says, "Clear alcohols are for rich women on diets."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So cheers to Whiskey Central. If you guys haven't checked out her channel yet, please do. Mike B. Midwinters Night has gone downhill since Act 5. Yeah, I would say the same thing. I actually just got an Act 8, so I'm hoping it's getting a little bit better. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys. So I put out a video before we get into the blind tasting. Actually, I'll show you guys what I'm sipping right here. This is the newest Old Carter American whiskey. This is a 13-year. It's actually a light whiskey in here from MGP, High Corn, but it's actually, they told me that it's actually mostly 15-year that's in here.
Oh, wow.
So 13 is probably 40%, while there's 60% 15-year in here. It's at 139.6 proof, and it drinks like 115, and it's glorious.
Nice.
Yep. Mike Mosley says, thoughts on Noah's Mill. If you like peanut butter in your whiskey, then you'll love Noah's Mill. So
it's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah, Noah's Mill is a peanut butter bomb, always. Every time I go to it, it's very peanut forward. If you like that, I think it's a great dram. I like it over, it's kind of like if you like that Jim Beam profile where it's like a nuttiness to it, but Noah's Mill is more of a sweet peanut. So if you kind of like that comparison, then go for it. So before we get into the blind tasting here, guys, I kind of challenge you guys. So I released a video on Monday saying, 5 things I wish I knew before I got into whiskey. So I asked you maybe to kind of think about something that you wish you knew. And you can't say, I wish I bought more Macallan Edition 1s.
Damn, that's one of my answers.
So what would you guys, if you had to sit and think about it, what would be one thing that you wish you knew before getting into whiskey?
I would say not to fall in love with a whiskey really early on. I feel like really early, I was like, oh man, I tried something. I'm like, this is my favorite whiskey. I'll go buy like 3 or 4 bottles of it before trying like a range of stuff. So like, I really kind of like focused in on one bottle where I really should just spend my money on drinking as much as I possibly could. Splitting bottles, I would have done a lot sooner with other people if I could. Just kind of broadening. Broadening.
That's when you look at many. That's when you look at many broads.
Guilty.
Fucking Rob, guilty. Yeah, that's me. Sorry. Hey, Dusty Dan is here. What's up, man? He heard his ears ring. We were just talking about you. What about you? What about you, Rob?
Honestly, I think what I wish I would have done, that Jeremy actually brought up a great point. I used to do the same thing mistakenly, but I stay away from the highly marketed, highly touted brands. Like I would have stayed away from the Glenlivets, the Glenfiddichs. Like those are the ones that I was attracted to because those are the ones that everybody knew.
Mm-hmm.
I would have gone straight to the ones that, I wish I would have knew a little bit more about like limited batches. Like I wish I knew more about Springbank then that I as much as I know now about Springbank when I could have bought beautiful expressions from Springbank and drank those, you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
Just I wish I would have been able to take this knowledge and go back in time to when I first started drinking whiskeys, because what would have been available to me then would have blew my mind.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned on the video, don't ignore brands that aren't Buffalo Trace, because when you're first starting out, I think that's what everybody gears towards, because that's the first thing they always usually hear about normally.
Yeah.
A lot of people are always, Buffalo Trace crazy. That's what they want. I got to get a bottle of Blanton's. I got to get an Elmer T. Lee. These are the popular bottles they want. And people just tend to bypass. I was guilty of it. People just tend to bypass the great stuff that's on the shelf. And now normally I have found at least 35 or 40 bourbons I would easily take over Blanton's or any of those, highly touted Buffalo Trace bottles.
There's a guy that I made a few trades with over the years, and he used to buy all the Lafroig 18 he could. He used to get it at like $69 a bottle. $69 a bottle for Lafroig 18. And like, for those of you that don't like peat, this is like the least peated Lafroig you'll ever have in your life. It was 48%, checked every single box. And this guy was walking, like those are going for $500-600 now. But back then, $69 on the shelf. Like it's just like just being able to take the knowledge that we have now and going back to those times. And we're talking like 5-6 years ago. It's not that long ago. You know what I mean? It's just how whiskey has changed.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that whiskey's changed more in the last 5 years than it did in the 30 years before that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and that's based on popularity, amount of distilleries, amount of just landscape in general. I mean, everything about it has shifted. I mean, there's never been so much variety in American whiskey, I don't think, ever.
Yeah.
I hate Weed Whackers. Ever tried Rua? Yeah, that's an amazing American single malt. If you haven't tried that yet, it's really, really impressive. All right, so what do you say we get into the blind tasting, guys?
Yeah, we've been sipping away over here.
Oh, you have been? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me mix mine up. So we kind of picked a funky blind tasting tonight. Rob wanted to just kind of mix it up. So in here we have Bullet Barrel Strength, Weller Antique 107,
yep,
Michter's Toasted Rye, and Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend. So 4 completely different whiskeys. So we're gonna see if which one ends up being our favorite, just based off of just kind of tasting it through. Now, again, the Joseph Magnus, the batches do differ, here and there. He's got a batch 10. I got batch 25. So just kind of curious how this one turns out. I poured these a while back, so I don't know what is where here. So
3 of these 4 bottles are mine, and I'm already struggling mightily to identify any of them.
Seriously?
Well, you haven't had the Magnus yet.
I haven't had the Magnus.
And I haven't had the Bullet Barrel Strength.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Weird.
And we're using, maybe like in retrospect, it might not have been a good idea to use 4 different styles.
Yeah, glasses. You know what? The nose is pretty different, like depending on these glasses.
Yeah. Noticing a big difference and
especially the Norland glass.
Yeah.
I saw a really funny comment. Where'd it go? I think it was from Sugar Kitty. My friend got broaded by the IRS once. Joseph and Cigar on the same name. I would probably like it. Yeah, you would, Joseph. DC, favorite finished bourbon or whiskey? Oh, man. Finished. I mean, this year, my favorite one, hands down, was the Bardstown Bourbon Company Chateau de la Baude, which was a 12-year MGP finished in Armagnac casks. Nice. That thing was a hitter among hitters.
Yeah.
Right behind that, I would say it would probably be the Foregate Batch 6 this year, which was a rum and cognac finish.
Oh, wow.
Followed by probably by the Magnus 25, Batch 25. And then I would also put the Blood Oath in there too, the cognac. Just some amazing finished whiskeys this year. Trying to think if I'm missing anything.
I really like the Wild Turkey Revival, the sherry finish. I really enjoyed that one.
Oh yeah, we were actually talking about that on Monday with Rare Bird.
I've got a Parker's Heritage 10-year-old cognac I really like that one a lot. You tried that one? Yeah,
that's not there's an orange Curacao.
No, I haven't tried the orange Curacao. It wasn't that good. I mean, it was good, but not for what you would have to pay to get the bottle.
Right.
Bardstown is bringing that one back. Are you serious, Jeff? I want all of it.
I was pretty impressed with the Foregate that you sent me way back. Was that a finished one as well?
That was batch 1. So that was a sherry and rum finish.
That was delicious.
And their newest one, batch 9 that just released, is sherry and rum as well. The only difference is that it's dark rum instead of light rum.
Ah, okay. Yeah, there's something special about that Foregate. Like it stuck with me. Like you sent me a nice group of samples, and that one really stuck with me.
Yeah, that one, it's an impressive bourbon. I mean, people still talk about batch 1. Actually, Minnick just named the 4-gate batch 6, his finished whiskey of the year.
Oh, wow.
All right, go for sipping this one here.
Yeah, I guess we should do this in some sort of order.
Well, it's all random, so.
Yeah, but at least like work with one and then.
I see.
Jeff Fox says, yes, I was in a tasting with them and asked. They have some great stuff coming. Tell you, man, Bardstown Bourbon Company is putting out some hitters. Logan Captis, any advice on making my own finished bourbon using a mini barrel? Hey, Emily Chambers is here. How you doing, Emily? Actually, hey, Tom Roseman says, first time in chat. Really enjoy your bourbon insights, Jason C. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that, man. Scotty from My Bourbon Journeys in the house. What's up?
Cheers, Scotty.
So I'm sorry, what was the question? I lost it.
Finish whiskeys in a barrel.
Yeah, in a mini barrel. So I did that with my McKenna. So if there's something you want to finish the barrel in, basically you have to finish. So when you get the new barrel, you have to fill it up with water first for a good, usually it's like a week or 2 weeks, depending on the size of it, to get it resaturated. Then empty it out, then let it dry out, then fill it with whatever you want to finish your spirit in. So for my McKenna, I filled it with a big bottle of Tawny port wine, and I left it in there for about a month.
Oh, wow.
And then emptied that out, and then I let it dry out for like a week, and then I filled that shit with McKenna, and then it takes fast. I only left it in there about 6 days, and it was enough port finish for me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, Rob, you were doing some funky things, right?
Yeah, I did a couple, but Jeremy's like the pro with that.
Yeah, Jeremy, didn't you do a bunch of didn't you do some interesting Ardbeg finishes?
Yeah, I did. The most recent one I did was an Octomore blend. So I blended Octomore 7.1, 8.1, 9.1, let that marry together. Then I seasoned a barrel with port and finished the Octomore in the port barrel. And it turned out really well. It was good.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I find that peated Scotch and port really work well in my experience.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What's your favorite rye right now?
My favorite rye.
Since we have mine in the tasting tonight.
Actually, it's not the toasted, but it's actually the Michter's barrel proof rye.
Right on.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
That was really good as well. Yeah, I really like that one.
And I would put Pikesville up there, only because besides the really hard to get ryes, Pikesville is one that I can relatively easy to find for me. It's like $50. It's 6 years old, 110 proof. Yeah, it's a hitter.
It's a barely legal rye, right? Like it's got to be.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a Kentucky rye. We're talking 52, 53% rye, if that.
Yeah.
And a surprise rye this year for me was actually the Wild Turkey Rare Breed rye.
Mm.
So that thing was 112.6 proof. It was, it smelled soft and sweet on the nose, and then it just kicked you in the teeth when you swallowed it. It was also non-chill filtered, unlike the Rare Breed Bourbon, which is chill filtered, which I don't understand why. So it just had like an incredible mouthfeel to it as well.
I wonder if it's because of the level of char that they're using on the bourbons as opposed to the ryes.
Maybe. We got Malton in my hey, what's up, Swami? Just want to say hi to my boys, Jason, Rob, and the vegan. Let's see. Bardstown's re-releasing the Copper and Kings Double Musket Mistel. Yeah, that one did very well. I didn't get a chance to try that one, though. What about you guys? What have you had in the finishing realm that you've enjoyed?
I had a barrel dovetail. A sample of it. It was really good. I can't remember what batch it was, but it was, I think, one of their dovetails. Really like that.
The dovetail, yeah, that's amazing stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
I really like that. Like I said, the Wild Turkey Revival. I feel like that was another one that was like pretty high on retail at the time of release, but it didn't really pick up steam on the secondary market at all. In Canada, anyway. Maybe it did in the US, but it definitely didn't over here.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I was sipping it, I was wondering why, because I really enjoyed it. I think what's that, 12 to 15 years old or 13 to 15 years old?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, you're right about that.
So I really like that. And then that 4-gate that you shared with me, I really loved as well.
Yeah, though. I mean, they're putting out some great stuff. The only thing with them is every bottle's $200, so it's steep.
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't really count. Well, it doesn't count as bourbon, but it would be an American whiskey. Is the Stranahan's? Is it Stranahan? The Colorado.
Yeah.
Most of their stuff I really like.
Actually, did you guys hear about this one? I'm gonna pop this on the screen.
I've been dying to try a 20 or a 25.
So that is a new. That's a new bourbon. Well, I mean, newish. I mean, they do release it every year, but that's retailing for $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy. I mean, Michter's stuff is just getting really out of hand too.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. I mean, I really like Michter, so I'm a little bit biased, but they are pretty expensive.
When is their own distillate coming out? Because they're distilling now, right? They've got to have stuff coming out soon.
I would think. I still think they're using a good amount of sourcing though.
I mean, I guess their stuff's probably like 3 to 5 years old right now, but
yep.
I'd love to try some of their own distillate.
Peter White in the chat just called you out. He's like, now you know where that Dovetail sample went. Jason sent Peter a Dovetail sample through you, and you probably thought it was yours and just drank it yourself.
No, I did not. The Dovetail sample came from Richard. I didn't steal anyone's samples. Okay.
Well, there is a Dovetail sample that went missing.
And if that's my fault?
It was sent to you, apparently. Hey, don't yell at the messenger, man. I'm just.
Oh yeah, I definitely sent a Dovetail sample.
You sent it to me, and I was supposed to give it to you to give to Peter.
Yeah,
it was supposed to get to Peter somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Here's actually an interesting finished whiskey. This is another one from Barrel. It's called the Armida. You guys heard about this one?
No.
Nice.
So it's pretty new. This one's finished in pear brandy, rum, and Sicilian Amato casks.
Ooh. Sicilian Amato, that's like almost cheating. They add like a ton of sugar to Amato.
It's sugar, it's sweet, it's botanical, it's floral, it's everything. But you get the botanical in that, but you mostly get the pear, I think, more than anything. Me and Scott from my bourbon journey, we cracked it open on the live last week. Hey, we got Linux Cat in the house. What's up, man? Anybody got any questions for us as we're kind of going through this? We're going to wrap it up pretty soon because we know Scotch Test Dummies and Scotch 4 Dummies are having a blind battle tonight right now. That's why I went a little earlier so I could get a half hour in. I want to make sure that this is finished up before I'm sure they'll be doing their reveal in the last half hour if those guys are having a good back and forth. So Taste and Sensibility says, enjoying a little Barefaced 7-year in honor of your Canadian guests. It's finished and pretty tasty. Barefaced 7-year. What's that?
Barefaced Canadian whiskey. I think it's distilled. I don't no. Is it BC or Alberta? I can't remember.
I'm the worst.
It's Canadian
whiskey.
Come on, guys. Trev Wilson, listen to the wrench. I only see 91 likes, guys. Come on, mash it. Mash the like button. If you're watching, appreciate it. Again, if you haven't yet, give Rob and Jeremy some love here. Go subscribe.
Joseph's asking why the Leafs suck so much.
What happened?
There's nothing that should be good that is not good.
Yeah, it does. I don't have the answers. Like they should be way better.
Yeah.
Let's not bore our audience with hockey tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna win the cup next year.
Is Canada sending us some of that award-winning juice to the U.S. Now? I don't know. Did anyone ever see? Didn't Lot 40 supposed to come to the U.S. this year? Did anyone see any?
So they didn't release like the Lot 40 cash strain. They didn't do a release this year.
They're not doing the BTAC this year. Not BTAC, sorry. The
Northern Border.
The NTAC. The Northern Border Collection. But they did release some cool stuff. They released in BC, they're already showing images of it, so I'm allowed to talk about it now. A Lot 40 double barrel. So it's aged, it's 100% rye, aged in a heavily charred cask, then moved to an even more heavily
heavier charred.
Yeah, charred cask. So it's double. It's like a Woodford double barrel, basically, like it's idea, but 100% rye. So
yeah,
that one's coming out soon. It's 48%, I think.
Tried that. It's good.
So yeah.
Have you guys ever had Malort?
No,
I have not.
Haven't even heard of it.
I am so sending you some Malort.
Is it good?
Nope.
Oh, it's bad.
Gee, thanks.
I'm not gonna say exactly what it is. You just need to experience it.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I have a bottle of that. Not of that, but it's something that something that is so bad you have to try it because it's so
exactly.
Yeah, Peter White's got it there. The Lot 40 Dark Oak, and then there's a Weiser's 22-year-old cask strength this year, but it's finished in port casks.
Yeah, excited to try that.
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
I have an easy number one in this blind tasting. This thing is a hitter, whatever that is.
Yeah, I got my top two for sure.
Yeah. I think I know what these are. The only issue is I'm not really sure. I don't drink Bullet barrel strength enough, so I'm not really sure where that is at in here. The one I have is this is batch 5, which is 62.7, so it's pretty hefty.
Yeah, I got batch 5 as well. So
do you? Cool.
Juice, yeah.
Whiskey Central is asking Master and Drum Lot 40 from Alberta Distillers, 100% rye. Also, I need to try Malort too. Whiskey Central, yeah, I'm gonna have to send you some of that. I have Lot 40. I still have some of the 12-year, which is just amazing. And I could definitely send you all the Malort you want because I have plenty.
So I will say that since we've been on the channel, I went from 9,687 subs to 9,710. So thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it.
Nice.
There you go, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you having us on.
That much closer. Yeah, I mean, Jeremy, I wish I was able to meet you. Last time I was in Canada, met up with Rob. That was when we did our Game of Thrones after the
right. Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was a cool experience.
I just remember tasting some epic whiskeys that night.
And then my kids waking you up in the morning.
Yeah, your kids waking me up in the morning, and we had a very interesting breakfast. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, your daughter, I think she was like chucking like Cheerios or something at me. It was pretty hysterical.
100%. She took the form of the character from Game of Thrones that she's named after very well. She's Arya to a T. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rob's daughter's name is Arya, just like from Game of Thrones, which is a really, really beautiful name. But yeah, she's definitely got that fire like she has, man.
Yeah, she does.
She'll take your face.
Yeah, but she draws you in with that cute smile, and then she'll just like it's over. All right, 136 likes. That's better, guys. If you haven't, smash that like button if you haven't yet. Definitely helps the other videos. All right, man, I'm having a hard time between two of them. You have your top. Rob, where are you at?
I know what I like the best. I just don't know what any of these are right now. I don't know why. I'm usually pretty good about this. I don't know if it's the glass or.
And you're a 107 fan, so.
I am a 107 fan.
Yeah, 107 out of these three.
107 to me, for whatever reason, has evolved for me over time. Where it used to be that typical Buffalo Trace sweetness, now I'm getting a lot more floral notes out of it.
Yeah.
So I tend to pick that floral quality to it usually. And I think that's what I'm getting in this one.
I think I got mine.
Yeah, I think I know mine as well. It's I think between the Bullet and the Magnus is what's throwing me off. I'm just gonna get some more water.
The Magnus and the Bullet are very different in my opinion.
Oh, they're 100% different.
Oh yeah. Well, Magnus, you got some 18-year-old MGP in there with some 11-year, mixed with different casks. I mean, they do the Armagnac, the cognac, they blend them, some sherry. And each batch is really different when you compare them. I have the one I'm doing now is one of my favorites this year, which is batch 25. And I also have batch 26, which I grabbed. And this one is completely different than 25. When I did a review of both of them, just to kind of talk about how different they can be, because I was getting questions, hey, how come my cigar blend is way different than the one I had last year? I'm like, dude, because they're all completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, some are closer than others, but, this batch 25 is like drinking, it's like tropical, it's herbal, it's sweet, and then it's savory, and then it goes back to sweet, while the 26 it's more like on the rye side. It's more of the high rye flavors are coming through. Mm-hmm. So, Nancy the Nose Fraley, she actually, I said on the video, she breaks down all the nosing notes, which, I don't think people pay attention to. They just kind of see it and they grab it.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone that's going to be pretty damn accurate with nosing notes, it's going to be Nancy Fraley.
I love how involved Nancy is with like Whiskey Tube or like reviewers. She's always commenting. She's on every video. Like you've had her on, other channels have had her on. She's really like in it with people that appreciate her product. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like the greatest most. She was on the Whiskey Crusaders channel, and I was in the chat, and she goes, "Oh, Mash and Drum, how are you?" She's like, "I want to come on your channel." I was like, "What?" You know why? Because she's actually a drummer, which I did not know.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
She plays drums. So this woman not only starts up whiskey distilleries, she also smokes cigars and she plays drums. I mean, is there a cooler person?
They don't
material.
They don't make them like that.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. She's like, "Fuck the Coach bag. Give me a cigar."
My kind of girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you ready to do a reveal?
So I think I know, but I'm probably way off.
Okay, well let's start with you then.
Daryl Caldwell, the glass closest to the camera is 107. I don't think so, man. That's definitely not 107.
So I got I'm gonna go for my favorite. I could be wrong, but I think this is the Michter's Toasted.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to tell you when you go through it? That's your favorite one?
This is my favorite of the bunch.
No, start from least favorite.
Oh, start from least favorite?
Yeah.
So my least favorite is the one in this glass, which is like a Highland Park glass. I feel like it's got like I don't know, maybe it's the glass that's throwing it off.
This is going to be great.
All right. I think I got my lineup.
I don't know. Jeremy goes first. I don't know.
You want me to go first?
You go first.
All right. So my favorite is the Northern Glass, which I think this is the Joseph Magnus Northern Glass. My second favorite is the I Sip and I Know Things, which I think is the Michter's Toasted.
Okay.
Wait, stop. So, okay.
Northern Glass is my favorite.
Yep.
And then I Sip and I Know Things second favorite.
Right.
My least favorite, I think, is this Highland Park glass, which I want to say is maybe the Bullet, and then I guess it was probably a tie. I think the Highland Park glass is the 107.
So you got 2 right and 2 wrong.
Okay.
Your favorite is the Michter's Toasted Barrel.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Your second favorite is
What's this?
The Joseph Magnus.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you were right about the Bullet and the 107.
Okay.
So you said they were interchangeable, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense. Like, yeah, definitely. I was my top 2 were these 2, and I thought they were the Magnus or the Michter's. They're both good, really good.
Yeah. Jason, you go. I'm gonna do one more sip, and then I'm gonna.
All right. So last place. Well, not last place. I think I'm somewhere in the same long lines of Jeremy as the last 2, which I think are the 107 and the Bullet, interchangeable. There was really kind of a, they're really both in third place. It's not like they were really in last place either way, but I put this one in, oh shit, okay. I put the Weller 107 in 4th.
Yeah.
There you go. I put Bullet in 3rd. Now I knew these right off the bat. That's got to be the Michter's, and I think my number 1 is that Magnus. And yep. This is the. Wait a second. Is that the? Did I get that right? Oh shit! No. My first place was the Michters.
So we had the exact same lineup, didn't you?
We had the same lineup, man. Second place was Magnus. That's crazy. The Michters. This one tasted way more finished to me.
Yeah, I got that too. That's why I thought it was the Magnus. I'm like, oh, there's like lots of sweetness going on with this one. But yeah, it doesn't like I wasn't getting that much rye out of it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
This came across as just maybe because it's gotten a good amount of air in it with some sweetness. It just really has opened up nicely. This is the 2020. So
this is a 2022. This is a 2020, right?
Yeah. Yeah, holy crap.
All right. So I readjusted like my favorites, like sip of water in between like a good blind reviewer would do. The Norland is my least favorite. I think that's the Bullet. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's this Highland Park glass that's throwing it off, but whatever's in here really smells smoky to me, which is weird. And the only thing that like I could associate that with would be the Magnus, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, do you guys know about my other catchphrase, Butter Pecan?
Butter pecan?
No. Butter Pecan.
Butter pecan.
Yeah, so whenever I find butter pecan in a whiskey, I used to call sorry if it's like demeaning or anything, but you know,
why would it be?
well, like sexy like girls that were like sexy girls like that were like Puerto Rican that I used to go out with in like the Bronx and Queens. I would call them butter pecans.
Oh, right on.
So that was yeah. So if you guys ever want to say butter pecan, I'll let you. No royalties needed.
I like it. I feel like this might be the 107 in the Jeremy glass, the Super Social glass. And then, I don't know. Maybe it's this. That's 107.
Okay, well, what's your favorite?
See, Jeremy knows what's in each glass, and he's loving this right now.
He's loving this because I guarantee you I picked the Michters as my least favorite.
Yeah, you did. So your favorite is the 107. Your second favorite, this is the Bullet barrel strength.
No way.
And then
oh shit,
this is the Michters, and then the last one is the Joseph Magnus.
So I completely got them all wrong.
Yeah,
but completely not exactly what I thought either. So I'm happy with that review that I did about the Bullet because I guess I really like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Bullet's better than the 107, but it's I don't know. They were like Jeremy said. I agree. They were very close.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, Bullet barrel strength for what it is, it's actually I think it's one of the more underrated, you know, barrel strength bourbons on the shelf.
You know what we haven't had is the Larceny.
We haven't had the Larceny barrel proof yet.
I really want to try that.
I really like.
Yeah, the batch A was okay. I mean, it tasted more like a bourbon than it did a wheater.
Yeah.
Batch B went more towards the wheater side where there was some more fruit flavors in there. I'm hoping batch C comes out soon. I haven't even seen Larceny batch C yet. I would love to do a comparison of all three, but I haven't seen batch C yet. Claire the Third. Rob's palate is fresh.
And usually he's spot on with these things.
Yeah, usually good. But honestly, I really do think that the glasses messed me up because like I've never gotten a smoky note on the nose from the Michters.
It's interesting nosing stuff with 4 different glasses.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference. I stick to Glencairns. I just have to, or Copita glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I get the best noses out of that.
We usually do. It's just I did a whole bunch of like I just recently brought on a guy that does like my filming. So last night I did a whole bunch of reviews while he was here. So I used up all my Glencairn glasses. So yeah. They're in the wash right now. Whatever. Anyway, just filled up.
Batch B520 is I like the B batch way much over the A batch for the Larceny barrel proof.
All right, keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had to like kind of grab one, I would definitely go for that one. Trying to think. Yeah, so that was an interesting blind. I can't believe the Michters toasted rye overtook the Magnus. I love that Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
Those were my two.
I think it's just kind of.
I'm so used to drinking out of these two, and then just to show the viewers like what these glasses look like.
The Norland, I don't like the Norland glass.
I don't like the Norland's glasses either. I really don't. I'm not a fan of them. I feel like when it hits like your lips, it just feels weird. They don't drink weird. They don't drink right.
Yeah, I don't like drinking out of this. The opening is too wide, I feel. I mean, they do that by design. I think it says it right on the box. Like they have a wide opening so like your palate gets hit consistently with the spirit, but
yeah.
I think there's something wrong with my lips because every time I drink from a New Orleans, I fucking drool all over myself.
It feels like you're gonna start.
It's true. The first time I used a New Orleans, I did it on camera. It dripped down like my chin. Like, oh.
You know, bib.
Hey, what's up? Cliff's in the house. What's up? Cliff from Bourbon Bites is here. What's up, man? Cliff's having himself a good whiskey week. He's picked up some cool bottles. I think Thomas Buck was asking earlier, what's his like your favorite like $30 and below bottles? You know what? When it comes to $30 and below, Old Forester Signature, highly underrated, delicious bourbon for the price. That thing's like $23-24. Obviously Wild Turkey 101.
Wild Turkey 101.
Elijah Craig Small Batch, just a regular straight up one.
Evan Williams Bottled and Bond is great too.
Yeah, Evan Williams Bottled and Bond has been hit or miss for me lately. When it was starting to get real popular, I did like it. The later bottles, the more recent bottles I've had, I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, because of the popularity, Heaven Hill is just turning that shit out because I feel like it's kind of gone down in quality a little bit.
I can see that.
I'm a big Old Grandad 100 proof fan.
Yes, Old Grandad 100 and Old Grandad 114, hands down.
I like that for budget stuff. Yeah.
The old Grandad 100, it just drinks like a creamsicle to me when it opens up.
It's great.
It's good stuff. I mean,
the original Larceny at what? Like I think it was like 26 American for a long time.
Yeah.
The old Larceny, I really like.
Someone's telling me that they love Larceny for their old fashions.
Oh yeah, how can I forget this one? Oh wait, where'd it go? Yeah, Cooper's Craft. That's kind of my new favorite everyday sipper. It's a Brown Forman product. It's Cooper's Craft 100 proof barrel reserve. It's about $30 ish, a little under in some places. It's friggin' delicious.
Jason, did you do a Old Tub? Did you do a review of that already?
Yeah, I did an Old Tub. Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was great. I mean, if you like that pure bean peanut shell, type of quality, then I think it's I really love it in cocktails too. I think it works great.
I cracked one and I was not that impressed off first pour, but I'll give it some time and see.
It opens up nicely. Early times Bottled and Bond, yes, Jeremy, for sure. The only problem with that is that Sazerac bought it, and Sazerac, that's where brands go to die. So we don't know if we're going to see Early Times Bottled and Bond ever again. But that is one of those bottles that every Bottled and Bond blind matchup I do, Early Times is at least in the top 3, always, if not number 1.
Yeah.
DC, y'all had Jim Beam Apple. Do it. It's horrific.
Jim Beam Apple.
You know what was really popular here was Crown Royal Peach, and I never tried it. I reached out to the rep. I'm like, can you send me a bottle of this? And they wouldn't send me one. I'm like, I'm not going to buy it.
It's borderline blasphemy.
But it was going on secondary market. Like people were selling these freaking peach whiskeys on the secondary. I'm like, why is this happening? I need to try this.
Bourbon by, I thought Cooper's Craft was a shitty total wine brand. That's good to know. Yeah, no, and I will say, Cliff, the 80 proofer, or it's like 86 proofer that from Cooper's Craft with the silver label, that stuff is shit. I wouldn't get that, and it does look like it would be like a cheesy label. But the 100 proof barrel reserve, I should say, is amazing. It's Brown Forman. So if you like Old Forester stuff, you'll love it.
So Jeremy has to say something because it's very important.
Well, I'm smelling Rob's Michter's, and this glass is dirty. It smells awful.
I bet you I had a peated whiskey in there.
Yeah, before. I bet you did.
You had a peated toasted Michter's?
Yeah, I think that's what threw it up.
It smells funky.
There you go. Anybody that has a small barrel, there's your experiment.
No, it literally smelled like like I was thinking cigar. Like this literally smells like a cigar in this glass. Like what the hell's in this glass?
Yeah, this Michter's Toasted has gotten really, really. It's very like toasted marshmallow with some getting like a very distinct like cherry note that I don't remember ever getting on that Michter's.
I gotta get a bottle of this.
It's like my go-to pour, which is why I'm shocked that I didn't identify it.
Yeah,
but it makes sense now because whatever is in this glass was obviously like an Octomore. Like,
okay, so he says 5 worst whiskeys, but before we close out the live stream tonight here, what has been your most disappointing bottles that you've had this year? If you could pick out like 2 bottles that you were really looking forward to, and then you tried it and they were kind of meh, what bottles could you think of that you thought were on that level?
There was one that I had a lot of hype for, and that was the Ardbeg 19-year-old. I thought it was going to be amazing, and I tried it, and it was a huge disappointment for me. My expectation level was really high on that, especially for the price. Richard was kind enough to send me a bottle of that, and it just did not deliver for me. So that one was really disappointing.
I would agree. When I tried that for the first time, I don't know. I think I was expecting a much more of a flavor punch.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of pineapple. I thought it was very tropical for an Ardbeg. I mean, it was like kind of smoked pineapple, but I couldn't really get past anything else. I mean, I'm not sure what part of I got a sample. I'm not sure what part of the bottle it was from, but it was okay.
Yeah, and then even like Ardbeg Wee BC, the 5-year-old, disappointment for me as well. I think Ardbeg in general has been disappointing for me in the last little while.
Yeah, you've been crushing Ardbeg lately.
Yeah.
You think their stuff is getting younger and a little bit less?
I think their casks are they're just tired. They're just not putting their good stuff in these casks. I mean, their 10-year-old has been consistently good.
Yep.
I think that those barrels are good, and then this other stuff. I mean, I don't know if it's second fill, third fill stuff they're putting in there. It's just not delivering what I'm expecting from Ardbeg.
Peter White saying batch 2 is much better according to reviews.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. For me, it was the Springbank 25-year-old because last year we bought the 25-year-old together, like 4 of us.
Okay.
And it blew us away. Fast forward to this year, we bought it, and I was shocked at like how much of a drop in quality it was, and it was really disappointing and it happens with Springbank every once in a while because they change their casks constantly. So this year they're using stuff aged in rum cask. Next year they're using stuff aged in port cask. Next year they're mixing rum, sherry, port, and bourbon or whatever, right? Like, so they're always switching it up, and rightly so, they're going to have some misses. So the Springbank 25-year-old for me was a big miss.
Yeah, I think for me, Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel is probably up there as one of my more disappointing. It wasn't like I was disappointed in it. I don't know. Maybe I just hyped it up too much in my head. It didn't. I don't know what I was expecting from that, but it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. It has opened up nicely, but I had to get it to like halfway down the bottle before it opened up enough to really. It just had a really funky, bitter aftertaste to me that I was not digging. And then by the time it got about halfway down, it started going away and just kind of kept the really nice toasted notes, the really nice charred vanillas and the marshmallow and the s'mores, a little bit of chocolate there too. But at first glance, that one was kind of disappointing. Stag Junior Batch 14 for me was kind of
Mm-hmm.
Coming off the heels of 12 and 13, I really wanted that to be more, kind of along those lines. I really thought that Buffalo Trace had figured out the formula for making just amazing stags now from here on out. And that one just really didn't do it for me.
Yeah, what's your opinion on why you think batch 12 and 13 performed so well? Because in my opinion, like previous batches, 9 was pretty decent, but like before 9, I wasn't even liking anything I got from Stag Junior batches at all.
I just think in the beginning, I think they were a little bit younger and they were rushing it out, and you had a very high alcohol content. I think just depending, my theory is it's where it's being aged. I think it's not being aged in a very, sweet spot of the warehouses of Buffalo Trace. So you're getting very inconsistent you're getting very inconsistent batches because of that. So I think you get some, depending on however the seasons. I think it's very driven by the weather and the seasons and how it's aging. Because I think some years you're getting some very alcohol-forward Stag Junior batches, and then when stuff is just right, I think it's they're coming out rather sweet than super alcohol-forward.
Right.
It's crazy, like, and I always use this word when I talk about whiskey. It's like that serendipitous, like, type whiskey. Like the weather was just right for like all the seasons that this aged, and it like for whatever reason that spot in the warehouse, like it's great right now, but it might not be the same 10 years from now. It might like completely shift because of weather patterns and whatever else. So I wonder, like, all the time how these guys consistently can put out a GlenDronach 12-year-old that tastes exactly like GlenDronach 12-year-old. Like that's got to be a really difficult thing to do because.
Well, again, these master distillers, they know exactly. I mean, if you ever hear Eddie Russell from Wild Turkey talk, he knows exactly in the warehouse where he's going to blend barrels to get a consistent flavor.
Yeah.
So those guys, I mean, they know what they're doing. I mean, we'll walk in there and be like, oh yeah, I like that barrel, but these guys can taste exactly what they're looking for and blend it to create the flavor profile that you know and love. And that's probably what they're doing with Glendro as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's another one. So this is a good call out from Bourbon Bites. The Knob Creek 15 limited edition release was shit.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow.
It was shit.
Wow.
I don't care what anyone says. That shit was an oaky, funky, just a mess. The nose and the flavor on that was like, it was great the first couple sips, but you give that thing some time, you let it open up, you like spend some time with it, it goes flat, it goes woody. Probably some of the worst $100 I ever spent this year. This is another one right here that I was pissed off I bought. Very old St. Nick 12-year.
Huh.
This is one of those bourbon brands that this was created for the Japanese market back in the day. Because they wanted some older age whiskeys. It got discontinued. They brought it back here to the U.S. Has a really nice story. They combine it with like Stitzel Weller, and they got these really nice old barrels. This was shit. And it was $250 I spent on that.
Wow.
And I was pissed.
Wow. Yeah.
I guess maybe you solved it right there. That's why so many people decide not to buy those expensive bourbons, and then the ones that are like more reasonable in price tend to be the astronomical secondary market like sells, because you spend $250 on a bottle, you're gambling big time, right? You're gambling with the quality of that bottle. So like we had a comment earlier, I just spent $400 on this Springbank 21. Should I open it, right, or should I basically wait and flip it later on, kind of thing, right? I think that's maybe why bourbon tends to do what it does, where like if the retail's too high, people just avoid it more because they're afraid to gamble with that, with those dollars.
M. Mooneyham 13 says, new to the channel and fairly new to bourbon in general. Are any of the Whistle Pigs worth the price point in your opinion? Nope.
The 10-year-old rye is good, but yeah, like we get charged a lot of money for that up here, so I don't think it's worth the price. I don't know what it goes for down there, but it's like $130, I think.
Oh, Jesus!
Try to find a Alberta Premium Cask Strength, because
Alberta Premium Cask Strength.
That's what Alberta. That's what Whistle Pig is.
Yeah, yeah.
The only Whistle Pig that's not pure Alberta is the Whistle Pig 12, which actually uses MGP rye.
Okay.
But all the others are just Alberta Premium. I go on a little bit of a rant for against Whistle Pig in that video that I did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they got charging that much. I mean, Alberta Premium Cask Strength, we paid $65 Canadian for that, which is like $50 US or so. And for that price, it's a great ride.
Yeah, we were raving about that way not to be those guys, but before Jim Murray said anything about it, we were saying like how great that was. Like I did a live, and I had the 20-year-old, I had the Alberta Premium Cask Strength, and I had the Lot 40 Cask Strength of that year all lined up, and that Alberta Premium Cask Strength blew the other two away.
Yeah. I agree, Andy Stafford. Batch 14 was very alcohol forward. I'm guessing he's talking about the Stag. Hey, Whiskey Troughs, that's the Jabroni Show. That's right.
Hey, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and I agree with Jeremy. I think there's no that's the problem with that 15-year special release. That the picks that you can get for 14, 15 years old, $120 and for like $45, $50 are so much better than that 15-year was.
Yeah.
That's one crazy thing about whiskey that you realize when you try a Knob Creek store pick that's 14 to 15 years old that you can get for $60 or $50. It's like how cheap whiskey is to produce.
Yeah.
It's like you can give me this thing, it's 15 years old and it's really good whiskey and it's only $50.
Yeah.
Why am I paying?
Yeah, the 15 Ellie is amazing. Jason is a moron. Dustin, I don't know what fucking crazy bottle you had, Dustin. I talked to like 5 or 6 other people that said that thing was shit. So I'm telling you, Dustin, that was the week that you were fasting and you weren't eating nothing and your palate was shot. No way that stuff was good. I'm telling you, shit.
Love you, Dustin. Like you on Mike's channel. I like you guys. It's good back and forth you guys got going there.
Dustin is like the first guy I've ever heard of from Kentucky. I think he's from Kentucky, right? Am I mistaken in saying he's from Kentucky?
No, he's in Cincy, but he's right near the border. So
okay, so close enough to Kentucky. Like huge Scotch fan.
Yeah.
Like, huge Scotch fan. I love it.
He knows what's up. He knows
he loves Scotch. That's why I don't trust. He's got a pretty good palate when it comes to bourbon. I don't trust him always with bourbon.
Yeah, honestly, like it is a different thing, man. Like I probably reviewed 200 bourbons on my channel over the years. Like, so that's not Mickey Mouse. That's a lot of bourbon, right? But
yeah,
because my palate tends to gravitate towards Scotch, I'm always going to taste something different than maybe you're tasting, like where you really gravitate towards bourbon, right?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
So basically just that like, because despite how many bourbons I've tried and tasted and reviewed, because I gravitate towards Scotch, I'm always going to have like that mindset, like the Scotch mindset, whereas you gravitate towards bourbon, right? So
yeah, I could see that. And that's why I like for bourbon, for when I go to Scotches, I tend to drive towards the ones that are like non-chill filtered, cask strength, all the stuff that we love. And those are the Scotches that I tend to love. But I definitely went towards the peat a lot sooner than I thought it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love Octomore. That's Brooklottie. I mean, Bunnahabhain is lightly peated, but Bunnahabhain is my shit right there. I love that stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Are there any single barrels of the same brand you collect in 2020 compare barrels? For example, I have 8 different Old Scouts. For me, it's always Russell's Reserve single barrels. I get so many of those picks. And also the Knob Creek 15-year picks. Those are probably the most that I bought this year. Bourbon Bites. See, it's far from amazing, Dustin. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The Mash and Drum. I had a nice pour of the 15 this weekend from another guy from the 15. A nice pour that doesn't sell me. Yeah, I mean, Dustin has a really amazing palate, but with that 15, I mean, listen, it could be an inconsistency thing. I mean, he says he had a great one. Jim Beam is known to have a little bit of inconsistency across the board, so maybe that kind of was in play. But I've heard of a lot more bad than good. Dustin and maybe one other guy, the only 2 people on earth that I heard that liked the 15. So
I wonder if it's like geographically you're getting different like parts of that bottle as well, right? Like we've talked a lot about how if a distillery sends you a bottle, that bottle might be better than what the like average release of that bottle is going to be like.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So
that's why Jim Murray picks what he picks.
Right. So like the example is Jim Murray. If he's getting the cream of the crop Alberta premium cask strength, we tried it and we thought it was great. I received a sample at first, which I thought was incredible. And I did notice a little bit of a drop off in the bottle, but it was still great. Yeah. But the bottle was less great.
Well, it's why like McKenna can win a spirits competition with their single barrel. Right, because they just review this one or try this one, and it's completely different than the other stuff.
Yeah, Wellesley Zell, the 12-year Knob Creek was head over heels better than the 15. I absolutely agree. easily. The 15 just got too woody and oaky and nasty for me. The 12 was way more balanced. Edward Fulmer, cheers, Jason. Always a fun watch. Absolutely, man. Let's see here. Somebody actually had a.
So earlier, Dustin was saying that he is from Kentucky.
He's from Kentucky. He lives in Ohio, but he is originally from Kentucky.
Yeah, and then
yep,
Nick is agreeing with our comment about like when the distillery sends you a bottle.
Yeah. KC15. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take a KC15 store pick. Destroyed that limited edition 15. Absolutely. This is probably a good question for you guys from Whiskey Central. She's been doing a couple Scotch reviews. She did a Balvenie 12. Have you tried the Glenkinchie 12? How did you like it? If so, I've never had it. So what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, the Distiller's Edition version is really, really good. Versus the 12, I would take the Distiller's Edition over it.
Yeah, it's your like a little bit more than entry level 12-year-old Scotch, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like slightly more than entry level.
Yeah, it's more mild in profile versus other Scotches. I think
Yeah.
it's a good one to start with for sure.
So going back to like, this is a great example of what I wanted to say earlier when you guys were talking about the Ardbeg 19 batch 1. A lot of the old school Scotch lovers love what Ardbeg did to that 19 because they're not using fancy casks. They're not using anything overwhelming. They're letting the distillate speak for itself, right?
I agree.
So that's where you're going to get like your Ralphies and your Surges that like really rave about that Ardbeg 19 because it's distillate forward, right? Mm-hmm. The contemporary drinker likes something a little bit more robust, I think. So I think that's where the mix-up is happening.
Yeah. There you go. So Christopher David, my KC15 was really good as well. There must be some batch variants. So there you go. I have to try this magical batch that Dustin has. Back to the bourbon 2020 Yellowstone LE. Any thoughts? Okay, so I had a pour of it last week. I don't think it's nearly as good as the 2020 Yellowstone was an Armagnac finish. It's not nearly as good as the Bardstown Bourbon Company one did this year, but I think it was pretty good. I didn't think it didn't blow me away. I thought it was solid, really great finish. I think it could open up and get really nice when it get some air into it, but I think it was solid. It was a pretty good Armagnac finished bourbon. Not the issue is if that was the only Armagnac one I had this year, I might have been more impressed. But after having that Chateau de la Baude, it just was like, okay, it's good, but it's not that good. Great question, Mac. I passed on the 17, 18, and 19 this past weekend. Okay. Austin Scott, LE really tasty. It opens up after a few weeks. There you go. So I would think that bourbon with the Armagnac in it would probably open up really nicely. So, yeah, 7-year Armagnac. So I think I wasn't able. It's not my bottle. I got not a neck pour. I got like a shoulder pour that people were kind of pouring in a circle. So it didn't get much air into it. But I thought it was promising on the palate from what I tasted. Remus single barrel picks over here. Absolutely. Thrasher. Yeah, there's a lot of Weller in Ohio. That's for sure. Brandon W. Redbreast 27. Okay, so I was lucky to get 2 samples of that this year. Redbreast 27 is amazing. It's a great Irish whiskey. There's a lot of fruit flavors, a ton of complexity. But I got to say, the Middleton Dare Gaelic I had that I bought, that I finally found one, was a little bit better than it.
Wow.
Yep.
Big price difference too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dare Gaelic you get for about $250-ish.
Yeah.
The Redbreast was what, $400?
I think approaching 500 in some places, like some states. I saw it in Florida for about 500 US. So
JJ, what's your opinion of the Ardbeg Ugadal? Really like it, but didn't blow me away. I'm a Korvyekin man.
Me too.
Me too. I think we can all agree on that one.
I'm a Corvy guy. If I'm going for any of the Ardbeg If I'm going for anything in the core range, it's going to be the Korviekin, hands down.
Yeah. It's just, you know what? Like, there comes a point where sometimes you want to just stray away a little bit from the sherry cask, that bourbon cask interaction with a peated whiskey really does a good job. Like, you let the whiskey kind of like stand alone.
Yeah. And a lot of guys who drink Ardbeg for a long time will tell you that the Ugadel isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Whiskey Throttle. I have a dram of the B3.4 from the SMWS in front of me right now. Nice. I'm actually going to be doing a video on the SMWS very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Donald Ransom, Master Drum for Rob and Jeremy. Have you guys tried any of the whiskeys done in alternative wood finishes from Ireland?
No.
Alternative?
I don't buy hardly any Irish whiskey.
So
you're more Irish guy.
I love Irish whiskey, but I tend to stay away from like the Sauternes, the Madeira, like anything like that, because I feel like what they're putting into that whiskey, I don't want. I don't want that like soapy sweetness. Like I want, if I'm gonna get that like robust sweetness, sure, but I don't want that like. So I stay away from Madeira for the most part. I stay away from Sauternes or however that's pronounced.
Peter is an Oogie man, so I mean, listen, a lot of people love the Oogie. I have nothing against it. I think it's a great Ardbeg. I just love those French oak casks from the Corvie. I think it gives it like a nice spice that goes along with that Ardbeg smoke. That's kind of what I like. I like sweet and I like spicy. Yeah. The Oogie, while I really liked it, I just thought it went more on the sweet side.
Mm-hmm.
DC, yeah, Dark Cove is my favorite all-time Ardbeg that I've had. Yeah, me too.
That's up there, man.
I still have some of the Dark Cove committee release sitting right up there, buddy.
That's good stuff.
Nice.
Yep.
I like that one. The black is really, I like that one a lot. I haven't tried the committee release, but I really like the regular black. I don't know. I haven't been hating on Ardbeg as much as you have these days. Yeah. I really like that 19. I think that 19 is great. I'm really curious to try that new one.
Todd picked up a bottle of Old Forester 1920 based on your recommendations. Haven't tried it yet. Dude, it's a hitter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Peter White, Teeling 21 Sauternes is not to be trifled with. Dude, I love Teeling. I love what Teeling is doing.
Teeling's doing an awesome job. Honestly, Tyrconnell is another one that I would highly recommend. The Tyrconnell 16. I think honestly, the Irish whiskey profile works best with bourbon cask because it's so fruity. It's like so tropical fruit forward, like mango, pineapple, like all kinds of crazy fruit. That if you can throw that in a bourbon cask, it's going to be unreal. So like really look out for the Tyrconnell 16 if you haven't already.
I have a Teeling 14-year chestnut cask.
Oh, wow.
That is unbelievable. It tastes like pineapple fruit roll-up.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's
Redbreast Lustau, Rob. I love that stuff. It's a really good, easy sipping Irish whiskey. It's good stuff.
That's good.
What I will say about all those like sherry heavy casks is if you want a sherry heavy cask, go to Scotch. Like like I said already, the Irish whiskey profile does best without the wine influence, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just my opinion. The Redbreast cask strength is bonkers good, like really, really good. Every year, it's awesome. Have you ever tried that, Jason?
I'm not sure if I have tried that one yet.
The 12-year-old cask strength, you guys got to look out for that.
Oh, no, the Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have like 3 bottles of that. Although I will say, have you tried the new packaging ones yet?
Not yet, no.
I think there's a quality decline there, man. I'm telling you.
That usually happens.
Brutal.
As soon as they start to rebrand, that means they're making too much money.
That's a good point. DH says the black is horrible. Okay. Let's see. Truth Seeker 1920 gets better down the bottle for me. Yeah, definitely. You got to let the 1920 get past the shoulder a little bit. Gets really, really great.
It's good stuff.
The Master Drum, it's not better in AB thanks to Rob and Jeremy, and it's all relative. So Daniel's blaming you for price hikes, apparently.
I feel like Daniel's like about 30 minutes behind, like 45 minutes behind, and he's just commenting. He's commenting on the live stream, but he's not watching this live. He has no idea that he has to click the live button.
Yeah, Ashton saw. Yeah, we talked about the Redbreast 27. It's very, very good. I just think there's stuff that's good and better that's cheaper. Like the Dare Gaelic I had, you could get for $2.50. It's a Middleton Irish whiskey, which I got the Knock Wrath Forest, and I wouldn't say it blew away the 27, but I definitely liked it better than 27. Donald Rand says that's because they are going NAS for the Redbreast cask strength soon. The age 12 years is in smaller print now.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I think what's happening. It just seems to be. So if you guys see the older bottles of Redbreast cask strength and you're, sitting around getting a little bit dusty and you love it, I would probably buy those up before the new packaging starts taking over the market, because I'm telling you, I bought a new one and I'm like, this doesn't taste the same. Like, what's going on? I think it's getting a little bit younger, or there's more wood, there's more younger stuff in there.
It started about, I would say, a year and a half to 2 years ago, where like it would hit shelves and be gone as fast as it hit the shelf. So now it's catching up, right? Like they can't keep up with demand. So
yeah. Oh, Austin, my buddy is bringing me some Bruichladdich Black Art 1992. What should I expect? He loves it. You should. Well, depending on which batch it is.
Yeah. So what one is the 92?
92. That could be the 4.1.
If it's the 4.1, that's the one that's supposed to be kind of godly.
Yeah. Expect
that's the best one.
A lot of sherry influence. Really nice whiskey. Really, really good.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth right now whether to buy a Black Art. Rob, you gave me a heel of one that was amazing. So I'm looking to get my own because I'm just a huge fan of Bruichladdich. Back to bourbon. Why is Woodford Baccarat so expensive? Saw it today for $2,000 retail. Because you're paying really for the, you're basically paying for the cognac cask, which was very expensive, that Woodford Reserve sourced. And you're also paying for the Baccarat or the Baccarat, however you pronounce it, crystal bottle that it comes in. I was lucky. I got to try that out of the barrel straight with no watering down. I think I mentioned this before. I went to an event. It's a charity event. Got to win a chance to have a private tour at Woodford Reserve with the assistant master distiller,
That's cool.
Elizabeth McCall. She said, hey, we're aging this right now. It's going to be a special exclusive travel retail release. We literally I have video of me pulling some of that whiskey right from that cognac cask.
Wow.
And trying it. And it was glorious. She said it was going to be in a Baccarat or Baccarat crystal decanter. And I was going to retail for like $2,000. And I was like, fuck that. I'm like, I'm glad I'm having it now because I know you're going to water that shit down to the basic 90.4 proof that Woodford Reserve brings everything down to, unfortunately.
I've been there, man. I went to the original Canadian Club 40-year-old release, and they let me barrel thief some of that 40-year-old. So cask strength 40-year-old Canadian Club. And it was like bonkers. It was like ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And they bottled it and the quality dropped like substantially. So it's unfortunate, but not only did they probably pull out their best cask for you, but it's at cask strength, right? So
yeah. What's the worst pour you've had in the last month, and was it because of disappointment, because it was just bad juice? I actually mentioned it earlier, this one, the very old St. Nick 12-year. I don't think it wasn't bad. It was just very disappointing. It's watered down to 90.2 proof, so it just was lacking the complexity I was hoping. Good night, Whiskey Central. Thanks for coming in.
Mine is pretty much anything Deanston, like Deanston brandy cask, Deanston Oloroso 20-year-old. Like there's some really bad Deanstons out there.
Old Fitz worth the hunt. The 9-year I actually wouldn't pay the money for. I think the Old Fitzes really shine at like the 13, 14, 15 years of age. I think if you're going to buy an Old Fitz and invest in that decanter bottle with the juice that's in it, The 9 is okay. It's good, but you really want the older ones. The 15 Old Fitz that I have, I still think is the best one they've ever made.
So the Black Arts that they were talking about earlier was the 5.1, and I honestly wasn't a big fan of 5.1, 6.1. I tried the 7.1. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm done for Black Arts, to be honest with you. So like the 4.1 is a standalone. I don't know how the rest are, but like, don't take my opinion for it, but I would save my money, buy something else.
Well, I was talking to actually Dustin, and he, and a couple of other guys, they were telling me that 4.1 is the one you want to, find if you can, but that was released so long ago. I don't know if I'll be able to find that.
Still no.
Old Fitz 16 is amazing. Yeah, you want the older Old Fitzes. The 9-year is solid, but not worth, a lot of the secondary that's out there for it. You really want the ones that are like 13 years and older. Those are the really good Old Fitzes. Jeff Huck, Old Carter, newest batch of American Bourbon. Also looking forward to the sampler I won last week. Absolutely, Jeff. You know what? I'll actually include the American whiskey in your sampler pack, Jeff. I like the new bourbon from Old Carter it's a batch 6 is actually Dickel. It's Tennessee whiskey. Although it doesn't really taste too much like Dickel, they kind of out-Dickled the Dickel in the blend. So it is pretty good for what it is, but not, it's not nearly like it was in, what batch 5 was. But this 13-year, which is mostly 15 years, is actually really, really nice. I love this stuff. Again, it's almost hazmat. It's 139.6 proof. It's basically 140 proof. And it drinks like 115, 120. And it's just a super flavor punch. So I would actually go with that one. Remus Repeal, 3 or 4. Brandon W, 3, hands down. Destination Bourbon, you're in the house. Tell Brandon how good 3 is. Cletus already chimed in. You want batch 3. Yeah, you guys don't get any of the Remus stuff in Canada, right?
Never seen it.
Yeah, so George Remus, the Repeal batch, that is actually stuff directly from NGP, which is just guys are, so even on the secondary, you have guys paying $300, $400 for MGP single cask, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old bourbons. Remus Repeal, which is usually around 12 years old, is on the shelf for like $80. And it's amazing.
Do you think the tune has changed with source bourbon and MGP? Because it seemed like the rhetoric a while ago was like, oh, it's sourced, whatever. And now it's like, yeah, with that old MGP, that's great. Like, got to go out and get those MGP bottles.
I definitely think source has changed. I think it used to be a dirty word.
Yeah.
I think there are some people who still feel that way, that it is a dirty word. But I think there's a difference between guys that they buy casks and they'll either blend them or they'll just release single casks under their own label. Non-distilling producers has those NDPs. But then there are some really good distilleries or really good brands that are doing just different things with them that I love, like Old Carter. They're blending, they're taking different, they're not just getting like some random cask. They're really diving into the premium MGP casks and, doing some really unique blends. We tried Joseph Magnus tonight, Joseph Magnus cigar blend. They're doing different things with it. Smoke Wagon is doing some interesting blending out of Nevada, out of Las Vegas. Bardstown Bourbon Company we mentioned. There's a lot of great brands doing interesting things with MGP rather than just buying casks, slapping it on a label with a 13-year, 14-year age statement. So I think you have to do your research and know what you're looking for. I agree with Austin. Just be upfront about your sourcing. Bardstown is so transparent. I love it. That's the thing. I feel like in today's market, if you're transparent and you tell people where you're getting your juice from, it's all good. I mean, why hide it? I think now I wouldn't blame all producers, all NDPs from not revealing where they're sourcing from, because some distilleries will have you sign a non-disclosure agreement because they don't want people to know that they're getting their juice from there.
Right.
So it's not always the NDP's fault, and you have to keep that in mind. Like, this is actually a good example. So Kentucky Par. This is an old school label. It's 12 years old. It's sourced. A lot of people say it's from Barton, which is a lot of source bottles are coming from Barton these days. But they can't really say where it's from. So, and there are a few other brands that do that, and it's not really on their part. It's also because that specific distillery is telling them that they can't. So sometimes it's them being, non-transparent, and sometimes it's them not being transparent because they can't legally, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the same way with Scotch. I feel like with Scotch whiskey, though, like the independent bottlers always kind of disclose which distillery you're getting your whiskey from. Some are not. Like sometimes you'll see an Highland Park labeled as an Orkney Islands distillery, but most of the time, like if it's an independent bottle, you know exactly what the juice is.
I think it's the credibility of the independent bottler as well. Like Highland Park will only sell a Highland Park, quote unquote, to like Gordon MacPhail or like the higher end, like independents. Sure. Whereas they're going to give it to like this no name brand as Orkney and say like, don't associate us with your brand kind of thing.
Or like their barrel is so off their house style that they don't necessarily want you to think that's their whiskey.
That's part of it too. Yeah. Blends tend to not reveal what's in there, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sam Houston 14 or Calumet 14, Barton, but not officially. Yeah, exactly. Apparently some of it's Barton and some of it is what Bardstown is distilling, being contract distillers. But I don't actually think there's any Bardstown in it because, the youngest whiskey in there has to be what the label says. So Bardstown doesn't have anything that old yet. So a lot of people are saying it definitely is Barton. Hey, Rare Bird 101's in the house. What is up, David Jennings? Nice to see you, man. JG's in the house. I have a quick question. Mike Franklin. Matt is going to rock the planet Bardstown. Porter for the win. I think he's going to kill it. Matt Porter is definitely going to kill it. Here you go. Here's someone that's transparent. Compass Box.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't really hear you guys talk about Compass Box a lot. What's your opinion on them now? A few years later, after they've I feel like they got real popular. Everyone was chasing their stuff. I just don't hear them about them as much now in 2020 as I did in like 2019. Do you guys feel the same? Any reasoning why you think that way?
I think they flooded the market with so much whiskey that it was hard to keep up with them.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, they were sourcing some like really high quality stuff. Then they got popular, right? So they got too cool and they could do it cheaper. That's what it boils down to for a lot of companies, unfortunately. You were drinking a whiskey when we started that is notorious for providing the buyer with the worst quality stuff that they can actually produce. And what's in that like warehouse could be probably like mind-blowing, but they will never release it. And that was the Crown Royal, right? So how was that 16-year-old, by the way?
Yeah, we don't get that up here.
It's okay. I mean, I think it's actually probably I haven't had much Crown Royal. I'll tell you that. Yeah. But from what I've had, it's probably one of the more complex Crown Royals I've ever had. It's easily the most complex Crown Royal I've had at 16 years old. Yeah. It definitely tastes like Canadian whiskey. It's got a really nice like maple spice. It's got some of those typical rye notes you get in a Canadian, where it's a little bit of that earthy and type of like piney note to it as well. But I think it borders more on sweetness than youth, which is kind of nice.
We just poured ourselves a little bit of this Kentucky Owl Batch 9 from I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, Mike and Narby malt reviews.
Oh, dude, those guys review ridiculous bottles.
The most epic.
And the thing that I love is they open that shit.
Everything. Recently, they were telling a story.
You guys just poured Kentucky Owl Batch 9?
Yeah. You have it?
All right. I'm gonna grab mine. We'll do it for the last pour of the night before we sign off here, okay?
Awesome. So Narby was telling a story the other night about Mike and he was driving a $500 car. Driving a $500 car and buys an $11,000 whiskey. And literally it shows up at his door and he pops it the moment Narvi walks into the house.
So amazing.
So he's driving a $500 car, buys an $11,000 whiskey and pops it immediately. Can you imagine?
That passion, those guys' passion for whiskey is like unmatched.
Like,
Crazy.
I mean, yeah, crazy. It's awesome. I love those guys. I literally like rely on Narvi to tell me like,
yeah,
when I'm spending north of like $500, should I or shouldn't I? Narvi, let me know, man.
So Narvi has add 2 drops of water to this.
I want to ask you guys, have you guys have anything from Pendleton? If you have the stuff, we have Pendleton 12 here. I'm not sure how good.
We used to have Pendleton at the LCBO, the rye, I think it was.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that in forever. It was good. It was a decent whiskey, but it was sourced, right? Is it Jason? Is that stuff sourced or no?
Which one?
Pendleton's.
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. I will say, yeah. So for those of you who hadn't had, so I got to try the Kentucky Owl Dry State, which is $1,000.
Right.
Special release.
Yeah.
Got to try it on the channel a few weeks ago. I had it in a blind tasting off the bat. It didn't really do well. It did, it did better than I thought. It's much better alone than it is in a blind because it's not a really high proof. There definitely is some older whiskey in there, but it's definitely not. I mean, it's barely a $200 whiskey, let alone $1,000.
Mike and Narvi just reviewed it, and they said that Batch 9. I think they scored Batch 9 a half point more than.
The Batch 9 to me, I haven't had a Kentucky Owl yet that's beat Batch 9. It's incredible. It's just one of those amazing blends that Dixon Dedman, did.
And then will they be coming in with Batch 10 this year then, or is it out? Or
it should have been out already. I'm waiting for the newest rye and the newest bourbon, but I haven't seen Batch 10 and I haven't seen the Batch 4 of the rye yet. I don't know if anyone in the chat has found it yet or has seen it.
I absolutely loved Batch 1 of the rye.
Batch 1. I have an unopened Batch 1 still.
So good.
It's one of those bottles. I finished one and I grabbed another because I love it so much and I haven't opened it yet.
Yeah, I was able to source one and absolutely love that stuff. Yeah,
for sure. Ron's Woodturn says, I have the dry state, haven't opened it yet. I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's great, but when you taste it, if you paid $1,000 for it, I don't think you're going to think, wow, this is an $1,000, whiskey. That's just kind of what my feeling was about it. I mean, for me, I think in the blind tasting got beat by Wild Turkey Rare Breed. So, let me see here. Any last comments here? No, I think we're good to go, guys. Couple more questions here. How long did it take for you to refine your palate to yank out all the flavors and aromas? I can usually pick out 3 before I just settle on good or no good. Never got but a pecan. If you watch my, enhance your palate video, I kind of reveal how I did it. I had a master distiller tell me if I want to get my palate as sensitive as I can. They told me basically to pick one brand of whiskey or bourbon. If I was focusing on bourbon at the time, they said pick one brand. So I picked Jim Beam. So I stuck to Jim Beam and I drank Jim Beam, every profile, every bourbon in the lineup, which is a lot. And I drank that for like a month straight. And just to get my palate used to it, I was trying to pick out the differences between Booker's, Knob Creek, Old Grandad. I mean, you name it. Basil, even fucking Basil Hayden, which is shit. So I went through all of that. And then after a month, after my palate was so used to Jim Beam, I introduced Heaven Hill to it. Then I poured Elijah Craig, and then I took a sip, and I was nosing it, and then I went to the Knob Creek and nosing it. And when you do that, you realize how different bourbons are. A lot of people not any, no offense to you guys, a lot of Scotch heads will say, bourbon all tastes the same. It really, it really doesn't. So
honestly, I commend you for being able to pick out like a distillery just by taste, because I could do it with Scotch, pretty much eyes closed. Definitely eyes closed, but when it comes to bourbon, man, like that's a difficult task. Like that, I feel like it's that much harder.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's tough, and and I always say, you Scotch guys, your Scotch would have no flavor. It wasn't for bourbon casks.
That's half true.
That is true.
It's half true, because you guys Scotch uses a lot of crazy, different, delicious casks. So
a lot of also share.
My favorite Scotches have a blend of ex bourbon, ex sherry. I do love some port casks. If it's going to be an all sherry cask, that shit's got to be like high in age. For me. Yeah,
you know what? Let the master distiller, master blender do their job. You know what I mean? Like get those like random casks, blend them together to get that balance. Because I find that like the heavily sherry, like some of the heavily sherry stuff is a miss for me. Like a lot of the single casks, they're not like I'm not like as in love with them as I used to be.
Yeah,
but.
Just adding to your point about developing your palate, I would say write down what you're nosing and tasting. That really helped for me, like doing like a little like nosing journal or whatever about your whiskeys. Write down what you get, because if you go back to a whiskey time and time again, you'll pick up something a little different. Write that down. You can kind of categorize what you're tasting and nosing, and it helped me for sure as far as developing.
Yeah, and I think nosing kits help too. You can go to if you search bespoke post online. So Bespoke Post has a nosing kit on there. It says bourbon nosing kit, which is super helpful. I mean, they have every scent you could think of in there that comes in little jars, and you could kind of nose it. It just helps you interact flavors with your brain, because if you haven't smelled it before, your brain's not going to know whether to pick it up or not. And a lot of it is experience.
Yep.
The other, Rob, I mean, you grew up in an Italian family. My grandmother and my family were cooking all the time. So I think that's where I got a lot of my nosy notes from. If you watch my reviews, like 99.9% of my tasting notes are about food.
Yeah.
It's just what reminds me of, those specific things. So
yep.
You have to train your mind to know what that smells like. And even Jackie Zykin, when we got the chance to talk to her from Old Forester, she smells candles all the time. So candles, help her kind of pick up different scents, and then, certain notes in bourbon will remind her, and she kind of, puts two and two together, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is a good idea, actually, because they're all labeled, exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yep. Just thinking about nosing and like in flavors is something you don't really normally do ever until you maybe start getting into whiskey.
It's true.
Like you never think about, what you're smelling and tasting. A lot of people are like, oh, it smells like whiskey, but
you don't think about your food like that, but to like experience it and really pay attention to what you're tasting.
That's right.
I mean, I feel like with the Joseph Magnus 25, that I literally smelled my grandmother's herb garden in that. So, just stuff like that brings back to memory. If you don't have that in your brain, you're not going to really be able to pick it up, when you're tasting in your tasting notes.
Yeah.
Troy Christian, get the Whiskey Dictionary to keep all your notes. It has changed the game for me. You can really see how whiskeys change as they open.
Yep. Write down your notes for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Write down your notes. One thing I think people make a mistake too is they don't go back to the bottle. And I found that with Scotch immediately. I feel like I would take a neck pour and it's like, okay, I like it, I don't like it. And then once Scotches get some air in it and really open up past the shoulder, they change, and usually it's for the better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially a single cask, like all sorts of things play a factor, like vatting, how long it was in a vat for. A single cask is like literally dumped from a barrel into bottle, right? So there's not much oxygen interaction at all. There's bottle shock is a real thing too. So like Scotch is a little bit more finicky than I think bourbon is.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. I think Scotch definitely, some of them need some time to open up a little bit, but All right. I think we went definitely over time that I thought we were going to go. So the conversation was going. So I had a great time tonight, guys.
Honestly, thank you so much.
Thanks
man.
for having us.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So Rob and Jeremy, why don't you tell everyone where to find you and about your podcast, your collaboration before we sign off?
Yeah, you can find me Sipper Social Club. Lots of good stuff coming up on the channel. My Halloween video is coming out soon. If you guys know the channel, you know I do like more kind of theatrical releases on Halloween. If you saw last year, it was Pennywise with It. This year, I'll let you see the little teaser coming out on Sunday, so pay attention to that. Our podcast, you can catch it on both our channels.
Yeah, the Whiskey Rant is the podcast. My channel is Whiskey in the Six. Spelt the UK way, I guess, or the English way, so without the E, but
the English way, the proper way.
But whatever. I mean, so anyway, yeah, Whiskey in the Six. I got the Four Roses 125th anniversary review coming out this Monday, so
nice.
Tune for that.
So definitely check them out, guys. And also on both your channels, you release when you do your podcast episodes, correct?
Yeah, you can catch it on either channel or on any streaming service.
Right. We got you ranting about some bourbons on our Whiskey Rant.
Yeah,
in the next episode.
So definitely tune in for that, guys. It's a really great conversation. It's a lot of stuff that I talk about to get it from their perspective. It's actually it's really cool. It's refreshing. It's current. So definitely go check it out. For me, guys, I have a lot of content coming up soon that I'm trying to film as soon as I can. Definitely. I have a video for a local distillery coming out soon called High Bank. So definitely check that out. They're doing a couple of new releases with some very unique wine cask finishes with a Cabernet Sauvignon and also an Italian Sangiovese cask, a wine cask finish, which is really unique. They do a very high rye recipe. I'm going to be doing a whole video about what they're offering coming up soon. Also, the best whiskey glass in the world, deemed by this one company. They sent me some whiskey glasses. I'll be doing an unboxing of those and showing you exactly what those are. Also coming up, new Midwinters Night's Dram, this Old Carter, and a bunch of other stuff I have coming up real soon. And also a video about the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. So thanks for coming in tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. Had a great conversation. Cheers to you, Rob and Jeremy. This was awesome, man. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.